friend of mine, Tim, in Bali. We were in an Amazon mastermind together. Most people in the mastermind hadn't launched a project. They were doing, I'm using air quotes, like product research. And what I've learned later is like 95% of seller accounts that are open never sell anything. So he said, I challenge you to take something, anything, and in the next 30 days, get it listed in live and just do it. I just looked around me. I found some like silver from the jewelry market. I listed it. I sold 5 bracelets on Amazon. And I cannot tell you how hard it was, because with each step you take, you are taking your dream into action. My advice there is just to continue to take one tiny, tiny step every day forward in that direction. And it's more important to take an action versus no action.
Do you have a specific challenge or any problem that you've had in the development of the company once you got it off the ground that kind of changed your mindset as a lesson that you can share to the listeners here of just how to be a better entrepreneur as you're growing and scaling your company?
So
welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs, growing 1% everyday podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs podcast, where we can discuss how to grow 1% every day in both business and itself. Joining us today is Elizabeth Grosjean from Baloo Living, the award-winning cooling weighted blanket. Super excited to have Elizabeth on the podcast to talk about the next blanket I'll be purchasing for my pregnant wife. Thank you, Elizabeth, for joining us.
hey, I love to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
You know, I've gone through the website a little bit before I got to sit down and talk to you, and it looks like you've done something vastly different. Weighted blankets is something that my wife talks about. I've heard a lot for helping you sleep, helping you get into that REM state of sleep, but you guys took a different angle on it to be more health conscious and more focused on the individual. I'd love to hear a little bit on how this whole thing started and where the idea came from and how you got to where you are today.
Oh, wow. There's so much there. I could talk for about 3 days, but this company is a labor of love for me. So it was personal discovery and self-expression, to be honest, that I feel like personally is being honoring and respectful of the whole human. So body, mind, and spirit. And I hope that translates through in our messaging and our communications as well. The story goes, I was on a sabbatical and took a leave from my life as I knew it and was really asking a lot of questions about life, feeling unsatisfied or unfulfilled, this like whisper that wouldn't go away. I tried everything. And it took me to Bali. And while I was there, I really went through so many levels of depth and personal exploration, things I was doing, plant medicine, meditation, energy work, healings, water temple, all of the things that I think are kind of part and parcel of taking a sabbatical in Bali. And one of the things that was really impactful to me there was just the community and the quality of the people I was around. And I had intended to seek that out because I knew the people I was around in New York were stimulating and approaching life in a certain way. And I wanted to try a different approach. So I gave myself permission to explore starting a business while I was there. And in that process of exploration, I also had I feel like I talk too long about all of this, but so many breakthroughs in terms of giving myself permission to dream big and to pursue my dreams, and even permission to pursue something for wealth generation. Because I think growing up as a woman, I'm from the South, I didn't know it, but I was carrying around this conditioning that it was somehow beneath me to pursue money. And once I gave myself permission to pursue money, because money is energy and I'm deserving of all of the good energy and I'm going to let it pass through and do good things. And even if I'm not, I'm deserving. Once I gave myself that permission, I ended up discovering weighted blankets and finding something that I was really passionate about sharing with people. And so I was doing product research. I was on Amazon. I was on Jungle Scout. I was looking at keyword search volume. I saw this hockey stick trend in searches for weighted blankets. The year was 2017. It was before weighted blankets kind of broke out as a trend and became a meme and all of that, especially during COVID. So this was before that. And when I looked on Amazon, it was just kind of a sea of same. It was a lot of gray polyester, a lot of typos and misspellings. You could tell like not a lot of thought into these products. And there was this great demand. And so I literally bought a ticket to China a week later. It was the Canton Fair. And so I just flew over there. And met a supplier, and I took a sample with me. And I was just so excited by the obvious story I was seeing in the data of this opportunity for a product. And as soon as I tried on a weighted blanket in my little tiny 1-bedroom villa I was staying in. It was the middle of the afternoon. It was the tropical heat. I had the most relaxing and restorative nap I've ever had. And when I came awake 20 minutes later, I felt like I had been transported somewhere else. And it was a very moving experience for me. And it felt like through this product, I had the opportunity to share something with people that represented in a smaller way, like an encapsulation of this whole experience I'd been having of removing myself, going back to nature, going back to rhythm of life, going back to reconnecting to my intuition, kind of detoxing a bit from Western civilization and Western culture, to reconnecting to my intuition. Because everything that had led me to there had been an intentional choice of choosing to listen to my inner guidance, my inner voice, and not to listen to the voice of practical advice or what makes the most sense on the surface, or what does society really condition or tell you is the smart thing to do. Because I'd really taken a big leap of faith. I had gone to Bali and depleted my savings and was there like doing product research, and my whole family and support system was like, what are you doing? And so that's how the company was born.
What a beautiful, beautiful story. I mean, there's so many things to unpack there, especially I'd like to back up a little bit at the development of your mindset that's changed you from what you believed was right to what you believe today. I always quote back the book, The Four Agreements, of understanding that your life is defined by the agreements that you make with yourself. And a lot of us as entrepreneurs, the business owners listening right now, we broke molds to get where we are today, or people told us it wasn't possible for our entire lives, and we decided to tell them they were wrong and change the overall agreements that we had of ourselves. And you really went through not only a physical, but a spiritual change that allowed you to break that. How difficult was that process? Did it feel eye-opening and feel relieving, or did it feel stressful and daunting as you were going through it?
That is such a great question, because I don't think there's a lot of spaces where that's talked about. There's a lot of, you see people who've already crossed over to the other side and it makes sense for them. And you think, well, what do they know that I don't know? And it is like crossing through a portal. It's like threading the eye of the needle. It was daunting, terrifying, really kind of the hero's journey. I remember being in Bali and actually reading the book, The Hero's Journey, and feeling like that was me. There was the intentional question to ask, what is the worst that can happen? And what is the worst that can happen if I stay? If you stay in your comfort zone, that is the worst that can happen in a sense, because it's not that bad. But then you're never going to know what could have been. And that's awful to not know. And in my case, I didn't have any dependents. So it was really my own risk to take. And it was kind of a question of, what am I willing to risk and what am I willing to gain? And it was about personal. It wasn't about trying to quote unquote make it. I had to give up that idea of what is making it mean and be willing to surrender into the unknown to see what was possible.
I love that. I mean, the point that you hit there of just all entrepreneurs, I think, go through it, right? You have that moment where you have to take the leap of faith within yourself, because nobody else is going to do it for us, right? Every single person that's an entrepreneur did it by themselves. Yeah, you might have partners, you might have people that help, but the ball needs to start rolling in the direction that you want to take it before the people that you need to help, that will help you in your life, come into that society and that environment. So, you've gone through this process, is threading the needle. And I love the hero's journey. I quote Alex Hormozy a lot about how the story that you will write for yourself will only be as great as the size of the dragon that you slay throughout the process, right? So the difficulties that you actually go through are what's going to make you into the person that you are, the entrepreneur that you are, and really the success that you will have. And it's not by doing the same thing. It's by facing the difficulties and the problems that you believe that might be unsolvable, but hitting them head on and finding a way to solve it. So let's talk a little bit now. So you've gone through that elevation of your mindset and your personality of, what you want to go after now. You go to China, you find some manufacturers, you get this first weighted blanket, you feel the power and the strength of this product that is going to be great for the world around you. How do you then move that concept into a business practice?
So my hopes and expectations for it to work actually were not grand. I thought that if this meets my greatest hopes and dreams, it will be a small side business. I didn't have the evidence or personality, I think, to believe that here I am, little old me is going to try something and that it's going to turn into a full-time income, let alone a company. So I just didn't have that much writing on it, but I had everything writing on it because I think that it's terrifying to actually give your dreams a shot, because the biggest fear is that you try and fail. And it's something that you truly dreamed, that you wanted with your heart. So much easier to continue dreaming it instead of putting it on the line. So another interesting aspect of this story, I think, is that for a few months, I had a business partner. There was another, called digital nomad. I don't know, a girl from Australia living there. She had left corporate. She had a large savings account, multiple six figures saved, and she was looking for her product idea. She wasn't finding it. So she was like, you've got this amazing idea. I've got the capital. Let's partner. And I was like, oh, this is divine intervention. This is like the universe like giving me a sign and leading me down my path. So I said yes without thinking about it. A few months in, there was a lot of friction, a lot of fear from both of us. We were both doing something new. And I had this moment of clarity where I realized that I'm not meant to do this with a partner. This is meant to be a personal journey experience thing. And it was like a full knowing. Nothing I could do to change that. Even if I wanted her to continue to be my partner, I couldn't change that. I couldn't fight it. So we broke up immediately. I told her, of course, and paid her back everything that she had put in, but I had no funding. So my dad offered me a small loan. And I said, no, I'm the oldest. I'm not here to take money from my family. I'm trying to create wealth to support my family. And I had a healing session, a theta healing session with my dear friend, Diana Gia. And in that session, my dad visited. It sounds so funny. My dad came in, he visited, and I felt his true love offering, that it was just an expression of true love. And if I could accept it, I would allow him to give that to me, that true love. I'm from a family where money was always tight growing up. It's not that I'm from a family where dad writes checks. So I called him and I said, I'd love to let you help me. And he said that when he was my exact age, 37 at the time, his dad had helped him starting his small business. And that had been a pivotal moment for him in terms of understanding what it means to be a father. So it was really beautiful and full. I had no idea about that. So I had the supplier, I had the order, was ready to go. And he says, do you want me to send this wire of $30,000 to China? And I said, I think that's what we're doing now. And so that's how we got started.
For all the business owners and the entrepreneurs listening right now, hearing her tonality and her voice, her reserve that she had, and she can emulate that. These were the problems that she saw front facing, but there was a point where you have to sit back and realize that there is opportunities in front of us that we're denying on a consistent and constant basis that could be the door opener, right? Or there's opportunities that you took, like the partner, that might be closing doors that don't really represent what you want to go after. But intuition, and us as entrepreneurs living in that intuition, in the mindset of that we have a goal that we want to achieve, and that we are going to do the due diligence to understand, yes, ignorance is one of the biggest flaws in business, right? If you don't know what's going to happen or you haven't done your research, it can bite you every single time. But when you have that gut feeling of I've done the research and I know what I'm going to do, and then chasing after that and removing the boundaries that you personally have, as well as the boundaries that are in front of you physically or financially, to go after it, that's when your goals and your dreams really become a reality. Love what you said about the biggest fear is going after a goal and then it failing, going after a dream and it not becoming a reality. At 30, 31, almost 32 now, I realized that a lot of times that goal and that failure is because we put the goalpost too close. We didn't give ourselves enough time or enough thought or enough education to actually hit that goal that we're going after. But once we understand that this does take time, and as you said, you had to go through multiple different methods to find that mindset shift, to open yourself up, to be able to accept the things that will get you to where you be and push the things out that were out of your line that you were trying to achieve, out of the goal that you're trying to go across. Absolutely beautiful backstory. And then it all leads to weighted blankets. Let's talk about the weighted blankets a little bit. How are you guys doing it differently? Talking to me a little bit about from the difference of the basic weighted blanket that I'm finding on Amazon compared to what I'd find from your company.
Totally. I think the most important thing is that the materials are just the highest quality and also natural materials. So we're using premium Ocotex cotton, which means it's cleared from any VOCs or chemicals or anything that you might find in textile production is not present here. And we've taken out the polyester lining. Other cotton weighted blankets are still using polyester inside. We've also replaced that with cotton. So the product itself is just clean and natural. At the time, a lot of brands were also using a plastic fill for the weight, which is just like putting a plastic bag of polyester on your body. Like, that's not a very good idea, but I'm happy to say that the entire market has shifted to glass microbeads. So that's not really an issue anymore. But you'll still find a lot of polyester out there, which is a microplastic, basically. That's why people think that weighted blankets make them hot. So that was intentionally part of our design from day one, not only because I was living in the tropics, but I have friends that are going through hormonal changes. And then so many people struggle with hot sleep, and temperature regulation is a very big part of being able to sleep optimally. So a weighted blanket needs to definitely not make you hot and keep you cool. And that's part of our design as well. And then just sustainably and ecologically, I mean, ever since I was a kid, I've been super passionate about the environment and impact. And I almost, another reason not to start this business, I almost didn't, because I thought, gosh, I'm going to be placing orders for mass produced consumer goods and then shipping them across the ocean. Like, does the world need more products? No, the world doesn't need more products, but I can either sit on the sidelines and complain about it, or I can participate. And by my participation, maybe I can have a positive impact on the way that things are done and give people a better option in the market. So we're carbon neutral and ocean positive. So that means we calculate our carbon footprint from everything that we do, from production, shipping, operations, and then we double it, because it's not only about doing no harm, but it's also about paying it forward and how can we undo some of this harm that we've done to the planet. We work with a very cool organization called Sea Trees that plants mangrove and kelp forests, which sequester 5 times more carbon from the atmosphere than the tropical rainforest. And they do it in accordance with the UN sustainability guidelines, incorporating local communities and education. So really love what they're doing. And then we've taken all the plastic out of our supply chain and our packaging, and really like trying to leave no stone unturned. So anything that we're doing, however we're doing it, is doing it to the highest standard that we can. And I don't have investors. So every decision I have the freedom to make in terms of what is going to serve our customer and our community, which I see as just humanity, basically, as best as we can.
I really need to take a pause on that. And for the entrepreneurs, business owners listening to that, understand how she took a product that even she said, that we don't need more products, this and that, but said, I'm going to be the one that puts the effort towards helping the world by leveraging this product that I know is good. And all of us entrepreneurs do that. Every person, from the guy that starts a home improvement business, the guy that starts the next e-commerce business, or the woman that starts a beauty business, whatever it might be. Yes, these products already exist, but they don't exist in a way that you see the problem in the market. So she took that, and then even then when she created it, you can hear the animation in her voice when she starts diving into how health conscious and eco conscious the product actually is, because that was her personal desires. We as entrepreneurs, we can always mold those two things, a service or a product that helps the world, and our personal mentality of how we want to help the world as an individual, and bring those together. And the beautiful thing is, as an entrepreneur, you can only get louder and louder as your business grows, which helps the world more and more and more. Product seems absolutely amazing. And honestly, all the problems that you're mentioning, they're a consistent problem that I see across the board. Did you guys have a mindset around like grounding and the frequency around the products that you're using? I know this is a big topic of conversation today about how grounding mats are helping a lot of individuals, because they're starting to understand that there's a frequency to everything, to every fabric, to every person. Did you guys have that in mind, or is just by circumstance, it's a big deal now and your product's a perfect fit?
It's a coincidence, although I will say, like, I do have and always have had this belief about frequency and energy connecting us all. And so that's why we also worked with a nonprofit since day one, because I just felt like we're all in connection. We're all having ripple effects. This is different than I think that the literal frequency that you're talking about, like with grounding mats and earthing mats, which I think is awesome. I'm literally using an earthing mat under my laptop right now while we have this conversation. I'm so inspired by Clint Ober and his movement that he's created around grounding. It's purely a coincidence. I just knew that natural materials are better and that we're all connected. And the higher we can raise our frequency and our vibration, the better for everyone.
And how aligned is that with, it seems that as education becomes more readily available, the things that actually make us happy and that we've been avoiding for multiple years are now coming to the surface. Frequency, understanding grounding, understanding the way to eat and things of that nature is really becoming more apparent, and your product just fits in So perfect. You mentioned before some specific people that this blanket was going to be absolutely perfect for. Do you have an ideal consumer avatar that you're going after in your messaging and your advertising? Are you going after, say, like my wife, a pregnant woman, where their hormones are going back and forth, they're having these heat flashes? Are you going after older individuals that might be going through menopause? Is there a certain consumer base that you're going after, or do you feel like this product's perfect for all?
There really is no one that this product is not good for. In terms of advertising and who I think about, different messaging or angles that might resonate with people, definitely hot sleepers has been a big one. The biohacking space in general, which is a little bit more niche, but I think that person is a lot more focused and aware. So there's like no education needed to talk to them about sleep stack and simple tools you can do one-time purchase versus subscription-based purchase with a weighted blanket to improve sleep. Then others, I've always thought, because I have a 4-year-old, I think about parents and how much you really need to get the most out of the time that you have to sleep. And then another one is the beauty angle. So skin health, vitality, external appearance. I mean, I'm vain. I think we all are, have some healthy vanity, and sleep is some way into really, naturally improve your skin's health and appearance. So those are some of our angles.
I love that. And sleep is so important. It's so important. As an entrepreneur, we all know that our sleep is the first thing that gets taken away from us when business gets busy and things are happening. I've had more 3 a.m. nights of working nonstop than I want to admit. And if I do not get the right sleep that night, my morning is not, I'm not the person I want to be. I'm not waking up with the full energy and the excitement and the animation that I need to be the CEO for my employees as well as for my customers. And I think all us entrepreneurs can understand that. You've talked a lot about how the product is unique and how you've developed an individuality for it. I'd love to understand, where's it going? Like, have you added more products since you've brought in the weighted blanket? Is there a direction that you're taking the business in the next 1 to 3 years to expand on this concept that you have of giving products to people to help them sleep better, live better, be better people? Are we focusing just on blankets, or are you going to add more products? What does that look like?
So I love product development. I'm trying to kind of force myself to not stray too soon, because I think there's still a lot of opportunity for us here where we are, just with focusing on weighted blankets. We've also got a mulberry silk weighted sleep mask that has a crystal sewn inside over the third eye, which I think is really fun. I know some people have more firmly rooted belief in the power of crystals. I'm not so open to that, but we have an amethyst crystal and a rose quartz crystal. And I do think it's really neat because the pineal gland is the seat of the circadian rhythm. And so having that there is fun. And then it's just a great sleep mask. We have a robe that's made using upcycled linens from our linen bed sheets. So it's made in the USA and it's upcycled. That's really elegant and classy. And then directionally for the brand and where I'm looking for us to be in the future is, I think sleep is definitely one of the most important pillars of health, but I'm also very much inspired by the way that these tools can be used to help people with meditation and mindfulness. So smaller weighted blankets for meditation, breath work, facilitators and retreats, plant medicine, therapies like that as a supportive aid, more in sort of the holistic wellness space.
Beautiful.
That's where I'm thinking.
I want to granular at like where the business is today and how you're taking it to that next level. Now, at the current process, I can see that you're running meta advertisements. Are you doing advertising across multiple platforms? What does the growth of the business look like today?
Our strongest and most consistent platform has been affiliate, which is not typical, but we're in the Wirecutter and we have some other affiliate partners that are strong. So 80-20, it's media partners, not individual influencers per se. And then second to that is Google. And then we have struggled to really scale our Meta. And I think that's due to my not knowing about Meta, like seriously embarrassing amount of time. It took me, I think, 2 years to realize that that's what you're supposed to do to build a D2C. And I missed out on like 2018 and 19, like golden years of Meta advertising. But we're shifting focus back to Meta this year to try to scale into our audiences. And then from there, I'm really excited about more, I think less scalable, maybe harder to measure ROI, but more brand building things, partnering with hotels and spas for experiences is what I'm looking at.
Oh, it's good. So going into the B2B space as well. It's not just the consumer space. Very, very intelligent. And I asked that question because the entrepreneurs that listen to this, they love to hear the backstory, but they also want to understand, like, what's the next steps that I should be taking to grow my business? How should I be representing it today to kind of move forward towards my goals and my challenges? And for you to understand off the rip of, I know where my 80% of my revenues are actually coming from my 20% of my effort that I'm putting out there. I know my holes and I know what I need to optimize, and kind of the direction that I want to take it overall, in the sense of emphasizing the brand a little bit better, emphasizing the education. I mean, just the golden nuggets that you've dropped on this podcast alone of just what the product will do for you as a human, I don't think is, yes, weighted blanket is a concept that's well understood now, but I don't think it's truly understood and how powerful it is to have the right material in there, to get the right sleep, and how this all comes together to make your life better, your mornings better, which we all know that most of us, without 4 or 5 cups of coffee, it's a rough morning. But if you get the right sleep, you'll find that coffee isn't even necessary. So is it okay if I pivot into a little bit more of kind of personal development? You talked a little bit in the beginning, but all of us as entrepreneurs, right? We go through these trials and tribulations to develop our business, and we go through these challenges. Do you have a specific challenge or any problem that you've had in the development of the company once you got it off the ground that kind of changed your mindset, or as a lesson that you can share to the listeners here of just how to be a better entrepreneur as you're growing and scaling your company?
So many lessons learned. Oh my gosh, I could say more than one. Let me do a couple, if that's okay. I think one, in the beginning, I was afraid to say no to anything. I wanted to say yes to everything. I was a one-person business and I wanted to be everywhere, like on every continent. And so I was like expanding, doing yes. I didn't have, it was no dependence. So I was working 80 hours, 90 hours a week. I was loving it. But the result is that I've discovered in hindsight, I love starting things. I don't like managing things. So I ended up creating a chaotic world of admin that really wasn't fun. And it really ended up distracting from like being laser focused and being higher impact in the areas where I chose to say yes. So the power of saying no, which you were talking about a little bit earlier in this conversation, but no is as powerful, if not more powerful than yes, because what you say no to protects what you say yes to. So I think had I done that early on and really focused on the US market, customer acquisition, knowing my numbers, having my strategy, would have been a lot more successful early on and given me a lot more peace of mind than trying to say yes and do everything and doing it all like subpar.
I love that. And yes, I couldn't agree more. No, I believe no is a lot more powerful than yes. Yes is opening the door. No is knowing your lines and your boundaries. And when you say, I'm going to steal that quote from you, the more that you say no, the more that you define your yes, the more you can put emphasis towards what you think is right and wrong. And please, if you have more, I'd love to hear it.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I think another thing you were talking about or alluding to earlier is like, once you've thread that needle, you've crossed over into like taking that risk or taking that leap. One of my favorite things about what I do currently is the tremendous amount of support and community that it comes with, because anyone else who's ever taken that leap knows that you've like crossed the chasm, you're on the other side. Anybody wants to help you. Any entrepreneur wants to help you. I've had people in my life that I've looked at that have ideas and I'm like, do it. Because I'm like here to help you on the other side, but you can't do it for them. And if they don't do it, you're just like, oh, dude, like I want to help you, but I can't do it for you. So like once you join the club, you're just so not alone. And there's so much support and help. I'm in so many masterminds and groups and everyone's so incredibly helpful. So that's something else for anyone who's thinking about their idea and hasn't quite taken the action. And then the best piece of advice that I got for when I was on the other side before I'd crossed over was a friend of mine, Tim, in Bali. We were in an Amazon mastermind together. Most people in the mastermind hadn't launched a project. They were doing, I'm using air quotes, like product research. And what I've learned later is like 95% of seller accounts that are open never sell anything. And so he said, I challenge you to take something, anything, and in the next 30 days, get it listed and live. And just do it. And I was like, because you get stuck in analysis paralysis so easily. So I just looked around me. I found some like silver from the jewelry market. I listed it. I sold 5 bracelets on Amazon. And I cannot tell you how hard it was, like so surprisingly hard to go through the steps of getting it listed, because with each step you take, you are taking your dream into action, like translating it from concept to reality. And it was so hard to do it. And Tim was like, have you done it? Have you done it? And I was like, doing it. So like my advice there is just to continue to take one tiny step every day forward in that direction. And it's more important to take an action versus no action versus questioning, is it the right one or is it big enough? Just keep taking those actions.
Oh, I love that. And it leads directly into my next question and my favorite questions. We talked a lot about business. We talked a lot about the development of your company, but to develop a good company, you have to develop yourself. And Kaizen is a Japanese business philosophy that means 1% improvement every single day, taking small steps every day to a larger goal to achieve something greater. Outside of the business itself, you as an individual, Elizabeth, how do you find your Kaizen? What are you doing on a daily basis to ensure you're constantly taking those steps every single day and you're taking the steps in the right direction?
My business success and health is directly a function of my own internal state and growth. So I want to say that that's why I love what I do, because it's my biggest teacher and my biggest mirror. Personally, I always have some coach or program that I'm part of. I was in a business mastery last year with a high-level coach. This year I said I'm more interested in going in. So I have a breathwork and Reiki coach that I'm working with. And right now, breathwork has been the most high impact thing that I've been doing. It's really hard to stop when you're in your ego state, not ego in a bad sense of the word, but you're figuring it out, alpha mind or whatever. And then to drop in, it's like everything screams, no, don't go, don't let go. But it's really been helping me tremendously with clarity and shifting my energy, because I think that energy and that level of frequency that we're on, it really does draw in opportunities or repel them. And that's my current project.
Breathwork, a little bit of sidebar. I'm a professional paintball player, and I train a lot of young kids in the art of paintball. And it's one of the most exhilarating, high impact, high intensity sport you can put a young child into. Teaching them breath work was usually the first thing I have to do at 12, 13, 14 years old. And to watch a young kid who his parents said they can't sit down, they're too crazy, even at a young age. So if you're an adult or if you're young, it doesn't matter. If you can understand that, if you can take the moments to relax and understand your breathing, you understand yourself. That is your lifeline. That's what's going to keep you alive, is that breath. And once you realize how to control that, you control everything. Absolutely everything. There's a psychological study that talks about how excitement and anxiety are the same exact neurological impulse in your brain. The only difference is how you're actually feeling in that moment. And that feeling that you're getting is actually controllable if you can control first your breath and yourself. And then you can change any moment of anxiety to a moment of excitement. And think about the strength there. I know as entrepreneurs, everyone goes through levels of anxiety, but think if your mindset would shift from, man, I can't believe I have to do this, to, man, I'm so thankful that I get to do this. And it changes everything. And as you said, when the mindset changes to that, you'll see these new opportunities and these new things just kind of be attracted to you in your life. So Elizabeth, I love that. The breath work, and then just focusing on who you are as an individual and yourself to allow yourself to expand into new areas. Last thing I have to ask you, if there's any advice or anything, any books, any recommendations that you would have for someone that's just starting off their practice as an entrepreneur, someone that's brand new. You said that just taking the leap is definitely the one thing, but is there any book recommendations, any YouTubes, anything that they can go to today to start going down the path of taking that first step? Do you have any recommendations?
The first thing that comes to mind for me is that I do find YouTube to be a dangerous place because it's never ending. Ironically, someone might be watching this on YouTube of us speaking. Excuse me. What was really important for me, to be honest, was the artist way, which was an internal practice of creativity and journaling, because for me, going inward was the most profound. And then when I knew what I was ready to do, I knew specifically which project I was taking my focus toward, which was product research to launch a product for e-commerce. And I had to do that through conversations and narrowing it down. But then the best thing for me was to do a course, like any course. But I needed to have a point of view, because if you try to take in all points of view, you kind of never know where you stand. So I think it is helpful to find one person when you're getting started. Once you've launched and you start to have your own point of view, change your mind, do things differently, totally great, because there's no right way to do it. But I do think it's a good idea to have one point of view. And it does depend on what business you're in, who the gurus are or the experts. But that's something that I did. I took an online course, how to launch a product on Amazon FBA. And it's not like this guy had all the answers or the only right way to do it. But the course had a beginning, middle, and an end. And at the end of the course, it's kind of like, okay, well, time to stop watching videos now.
I love that, because the differentiation between YouTube and a course is YouTube is endless, while a course has that ending where it's like, okay, now it's time to make action. Elizabeth Grosjean from the Baloo Living Company, thank you so much for your time. Everything here has been absolutely amazing. Your advice to the entrepreneurs, the information that you shared. If someone's looking to get a weighted blanket today or go down this path and understand your business a little more, how can they find you? How can they get connected with you?
Our website is balooliving.com. We're on Instagram at Baloo Living. I'm on Instagram at Elizabeth Monette, which is my middle name, Manette. And anybody who emails us, I see all the emails. So you can send us an email to customer service, care@balooliving.com.
I love that. Living her business every single day. If you guys have finished this podcast, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next Kaizen podcast.